Hey everyone, welcome back to Yellow Jacket Garage. And what we got going on today is a couple of different projects are in the works. I started on one and discovered I don't have the tools that I need for it, so I'm going to have to go back and get those tools. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do the sway bar end links. We'll go ahead and pop those apart and put the new ones on, get that thing kind of lined back out, figure that all out. Other than that, I think that's about all I'm going to do today. I do have the both of the control arms that I need to replace, and then at some point in the near future we're going to tackle the brakes. I've got new rotors for the front and new pads for the front. The rears are in pretty good shape, but basically we'll knock those ones out too. I'm going to do those in a separate video though, so that we kind of keep things separated, so we are working on like projects to make it easier. But anyway, let's go ahead and replace these sway bar end links, the control arm, or whatever they're not control arm, but they're the sway bar or the anti-roll bar end links. And so what I've got going on is a little bit of popping and whatnot in the front suspension, and it's probably due to that. So we're gonna swap those out and see if that fixes the problem. So let's go ahead and dive right on into this project. Okay, as promised, those are the end links, one for each side, and then whichever ones they go. I've got four. I've got two each, upper and lower control arms, and oddly enough, two of the upper control arms, they have the same part number, but they look different. So I'll have to make sure that I figure out which one matches up with the other ones properly before I put them all in, but really shouldn't be that difficult of a job, I'm hoping. I do have the suspension is extended, so I am going to put a jack under it for safety and make sure that when we pull it apart that it doesn't come blasting out of there or anything. Probably try to do one at a time. I don't know if that's the proper procedure or not, but that's what I'm going to do. Now, it does look like the inner fender liner is probably going to have to come out to access the front side here, but we'll figure out a little bit more of that once we get a little deeper into it. So, all right, here we go. Okay, so this is the end link here. This is the one part that we're going to replace, and so we've got an 18mm wrench, and then a Torx 40. Kind of hold it in place. And so that one doesn't really want to move. Yeah, no. All right, I'm gonna have to put a little bit more force behind that. So do something a little bit different, which is that one. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the socket on a little bit of a cheater bar, if I can get the breaker bar in there. And then I just want to use a little bit more leverage to knock it loose. Now keep in mind I've got the camera too, so all right. That sucker should spin, but I guess it's not going to. So anyway. Let's see if I can adjust this light a little bit so we get a little bit better of a view of kind of what's going on. Anyway, so what we do is the Torx bit holds the center of the bolt so that we can loosen it up and kind of get it all back, or get it out. Okay. Go ahead and pull that apart. put that bolt back on that one. We're going to throw it away anyway, so it doesn't make any difference. But anyway, that's where that is. So, all right, I know for a fact that you're not going to be able to see what I'm doing down in the other side with the angles and everything else that I got to work at. So I'll come back here in a second when we're putting it back on. Okay, so as promised, this is the end link. It is back on. It's not all the way tightened down yet, but I wanted to show this part of it. Basically what I'm going to do is kind of reverse what I did. I'm going to tighten this nut down just a snug, but I'm going to use the center pin there to tighten it down, do the top and the bottom. Now, what I could find is that this has to be torqued to 30 Newton meters, which equates to 22 foot-pounds. So that's what the torque spec is on that one. Again, it is a 40 Torx bit center and an 18 millimeter nut. So let me go ahead and get those tightened down, and then we'll go ahead and show the torque spec part of it. So all kinds of fun. Okay, so I'm going to try to do it by hand first. The instructions on this are very specific about not using impact or anything like that. So that's why I'm using the good old-fashioned manual method. Okay, that's starting to turn a little bit, so you get the idea. I'm not going to bore you with the rest of it by tightening it all up. It's basically this one, the bottom one, I have to tighten the other side as well. So I'm going to finish this up, go ahead and get the torque wrench out, and then we'll figure that part of it out. Hopefully the nut won't turn on the inside when we're trying to torque it, but we'll see if that happens. If not, we'll just have to get it as close as we can and call it good. Okay, I've got the torque wrench set to actually Newton meters. So let's see if, well, that's what that one is saying. Oops. Well, there's 30 Newton meters on that, so it was that easy. So I'm going to go ahead and go around and do the other side, and then we'll wrap this thing up. All right, so there's that. That's a wrap. Like I said, 30 Newton meters. I'm going to check on that because that honestly to me didn't seem like it was enough, but that's what the literature said, so that's what I went with. I'll do a little bit more digging, and if that's incorrect, then I'll come back and retorque them. But it was really a pretty easy job. What I did was the sway bar, I pulled the two saddles that hold the sway bar on the front side. You're gonna make sure when you pull those off though that when they go back on, you have to get them lined up real good so that the saddles don't get kind of cockeyed in there a little bit and don't line up right. And so what I did, I pulled those apart, pulled the end links out, went ahead and put those back on, tightened them down, and then put the new end links in and just pulled down on the arm to get it to line up. So for me that worked out the easiest, and I know that I got everything back in the way it's supposed to be and tightened down where it should be. So if you got some popping and bumping and stuff when you're turning, even if it's not a Mercedes, any car, when those sway bar end links go bad, they make noise, and so you're gonna have to replace them from time to time. About 80,000 miles or so on this particular car. They're not a difficult thing to do. Really, you could get it up on jack stands and do it yourself with minimal tools. The problem that I was running into is with the tools I don't have for the other project is the control arm stuff. So darn the bad luck, I have to go buy more tools. But when it comes to standard, I've got plenty of SAE tools. I just don't have a whole lot in the way of metric yet. But another project that's coming in the future is going to explain a lot, and it's also going to help understand a little bit of what's going on kind of in my life. So anyway, with that said, that's really a wrap for an easy project. If you've liked what you've seen so far, please consider hitting that subscribe button. And by all means, drop me a comment down below. Talk about what it is. Even if you find a different torque spec or something, by all means, share it, because the whole point behind this channel is to help other people learn how to do their own stuff. I'm going to make mistakes. That's inevitable. Everybody makes mistakes. That's part of life. But the point is to try to help each other get better at doing what we're doing and keep this craft alive. So anyway, with that said, thanks again. Thanks for coming along, joining me here on Yellow Jacket Garage. And as always, we'll see you on down the road.